So at a very early age, if I listen to you closely, you learned by experimentation. You experimented with
Yes.
different things and discovered ways to make things work and what things didn't work, and then you use those to your benefit.
What I'm saying, you're right. What I'm saying is that all the things that I learned to do, I saw other guys doing it.
Mhm.
Some guys who were not school type basketball players who never went to school. Some finished their careers after high school and went elsewhere in the world. But all the things I did, the dribbles, all those things, I learned. I saw other people do it. And as a matter of fact, I've always encouraged when I tell people this. I could used to dribble the ball like Marcus Haynes, and when I'd get in the gym, I'd lay down on the floor, and I'd tell the guy, I said, "I'll bet you $1 you can't get this ball from me," and I'm on the floor.
And you just lay down on
I
the
lay
floor?
down, they'd reach, and I'd hold up and dunk it underneath me, and they couldn't get the ball. Because I watched Marcus Haynes do that. Just trying different things.
Yeah, Marcus Haynes is a great dribbler for the Harlem Globetrotters.
And you see these guys today when they dribble the ball through the legs and behind the back. Man, we did all that stuff in the park. But Ray Crow, to his credit, and I had to say I'm glad he did that. Would not let us do those things at all on the court.
Right. We're going to talk about Ray, your high school coach. Oscar, you bring up Ray, so let's make the transition into high school. You play on the freshman team as a freshman. As a sophomore, it was pretty much unheard of that a sophomore would try out for the varsity.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you really had thought much about making a team as a sophomore. But for some reason, you went and tried out for the varsity team as a sophomore. Tell us what happened.
Well, what happens is when you get in the gym, you sit on your side. You say, okay, varsity players going to go out for the varsity team sits on the left, and reserve players sit on the right. And I'm sitting there, I was happy to go out for the reserve team, and a player who was on the varsity team named Bill Mason, we called him Plute Mason. He said, come on, man, try out for the varsity. I said, I can't make the varsity team. He said, yes, you can, come on. So I don't know what made me get up out of that seat, George, but I got up, went over and tried out for the varsity team. You don't know what,
Not one of the smartest moves you made.
Yeah, maybe it's God's gift to say, hey, try it, but I don't know what made me get up because I went over and tried out for the team and I made the team. As a matter of fact, I've always said this, that I wasn't nervous or anything at all. It just that I could dribble the ball inside and move around people because the center when Winfred O'Neal was an all-state center, about 6'3", and they had some other guys who were all-state playing, and man, it just seemed like, man, it was just tailor-made for me, man. I mean, I went out there, man. I did practice, and I knew the guys were trying to make sure I didn't make the team, but I didn't realize it then, George. To be honest, I didn't realize it until years later that my coach told the guys to see what he can do. But I never knew that until after I'm well into my adult years. I said, what?
So here you are, a sophomore, and now they narrow the team down, and you make the team. How proud are you when you found out that you made the team as a sophomore?
I didn't think of it that way. I was happy because I just wanted. I went out and practiced harder then. I went out. I started working on jump shots and working on drives to the basket. I used to love to go to the basket because when you play outdoors in the summertime, man, shooting jump shots is great, but you can go to the basket on the guy, man. Hey, that's really something. Then, but anyway,
that was like manhood.
Oh yeah, but I didn't think of it that I was so happy to make it. I don't know what I thought, to be honest, but I wanted to make sure that I was so eager for the first game. I was just so excited. I didn't know what to do. I just worked practice in the gym and then practice, man. I mean, I went to the basket and I tried to rebound every shot. I was a good rebounder, which people today don't realize that how many rebounds I got in college. I averaged 15 rebounds a game in college, but people don't know that. They think that it's all about scoring, but it's not all about scoring. There's other things that you do. But at Christmas Addicts, I was a very good rebounder, and so therefore I just concentrated on that, man, and I'll never forget my first game. We played against Fort Wayne Northside. They were ranked number 2 or 3 in the state, and we beat them. And man, that was happy for me.
Yeah. So now here you are, a sophomore. You're playing on one of the premier basketball programs in the state of Indiana, Christmas Addicts High School, and And during the research for this interview, I was startled to find out that Crispus Attucks High School didn't have their own gym, didn't have a football field, didn't have a track, and as a result, you guys had to play all your games on the road. Talk to us about that circumstance and how unusual it was. And the first thing I thought about this morning was, where do they practice at?
Well, we had a gym that seated maybe 200 or 300 people, which was not nearly enough for a basketball arena. And then what happened, we went out and played our first game at Arsenal Technical High School, which seated maybe 4,500. But after we won that first game, George, then it just started raining. I mean, just raining like crazy because everybody wanted to see us play. We played most of our games at Butler Fieldhouse, which seated 14,000 people. And we played some games. Then we got into the city tournament. And I just couldn't believe all those people came out to see us play a game of basketball. It was just totally unbelievable. And to a point, and then I got threatened when I was a sophomore. We played Tech in the city tournament championship, and I think they may have beaten us. We lost one game to Tech my 3 years there. But I get a call, and the phone said, if you come out to play, we're going to shoot you. Well, I didn't know what they was talking about. I said, boom. Well, first thing, my father was sitting over there, and the guy called back again. Being a wise little guy, man, I told him some choice words, and on the phone, he said, "Man, what's the matter with you, boy? Who you talking to on the phone like that?" I said, some guy said he's going to shoot me if I went to play. Man, he got nervous. He gets on the phone and calls up the police department. They had cops everywhere, man. I said, it was embarrassing for me. I said, Dad, don't do that. The guy's just trying to get me nervous before the game. That's all. That's all it was all about, anyway. And which it really was, but it worked out fine. But it's just the idea that all these things, that come to you, and you got to make adjustments to them. It happened so fast, I mean, we were successful. I was successful. I didn't know what I was doing half the time. I was just playing basketball, man. I was just letting the game come to me, and if I had a chance to score, I tried to score. If I didn't, I did other things.
Talking about not knowing, that's a good segue. So you got your first game at Arsenal Tech, and as we said, you didn't have any home games, so you had to find your way from home over to Arsenal Tech. The Coach Crow told you what time to be there. Tell us about that experience and trying to get over to Arsenal Tech for the game.
Well, it's a funny thing. I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. You rode the bus. You rode the bus.
Public transportation.
Got over there, and I'm on the bus. I got my bag, and this wise guy's on the bus. And he said something to me. I said, "Man, get out of the way, man." I said, I was probably trying to get some money. Pulls this knife out. So I had my bag, and I said, "Well, it's either fight in here or go on and play in the game." So I said, "Well, I decided to go play in the game." So I never forget that. He pulls a knife out. I mean, I must tell you, I wasn't afraid of him. But I had this bag. I was going to hit him, and I was going to try to take care of it good. But I decided, I think I make the right decision in going on to the game instead of standing there fight this guy on his bus.
So you got to the game. It's your first high school varsity game as a sophomore. And shortly into the game, the coach brings you off the bench, and you score 15 points. Tell us about, were you nervous when he called you and put you in the game?
I was ready to play, man. I spent so much time outdoors playing with guys, a lot of guys who win the game, and I played and tried to do so many different things against them and whatnot. I was ready for the final act. My first shot, I was ready to get in the game. So I don't know who I was playing against him. I know this guy, Charlie Lyons, and I don't know the other kid's name, was all-state player, and I just kept going around him. All I know is that he just couldn't. He didn't know what a crossover dribble was. I can tell you that for a fact. and I just kept going around him every time. I must have made all layups. I don't know if I hit an outside shot at all.
So you scored 15 points and as they say, and the rest was history, because from then on you were a starter for Crispus Attucks.
Yes, I believe I was after that.
You were quoted as saying, "I didn't have to go to school. School was an uplifting event for me." Talk to me what you meant by that quote.
Well, I don't know if a lot of people understand when you don't have a central heating. Mm-hmm. You don't have an indoor bath at first. Although my father did have a toilet put into our house after my sophomore year. Mm-hmm. People at school were friends. Mm-hmm. You got a lunch, and you got to see friends, and I wanted to get an education, so it was the greatest thing in the world. I always tell people, I'm so glad I went to an all-black school, mm-hmm. because the people were your friends, the teachers were there to make sure that you achieve something. Mm-hmm. I thought if I went to go into a white school, maybe because I played ball, I might have gotten the right reception, but sometimes you don't know. I know a lot of my black friends went to these schools. Some never graduated. Some had difficulty in school. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of your teachers had PhDs because there's no other place for them to find a job. So you had a faculty that was heavily integrated with PhDs.
Yes, there really were. There was really something. I never forget. I had a Dr. White, and I was taking college prep courses. We used to take solid and plane geometry. Me and two other guys, Donald Crabtree and Jerry Williams, because we had gone before. So they thought I was going to have to go over to Shortridge to get this course, but this teacher, he volunteered to teach this
Shortridge
course
High School
for 3 of us. That would have been a kiss of death. Mm-hmm. Not from my addicts to go over to Shortridge and have a course. Yeah.
So he volunteered to teach the three of you?
And when I was at University of Cincinnati, George, and I took my first final test in either plane or solid geometry, I never forget this as long as I live. I've taken the test so many times. I said, "Oh, thank you, Dr. White," who was the teacher at it. And then the worst happens. I finished the test, and it was an hour and about 30 minutes, and I was going to get up and hand my paper in, and the professor said, "You must have cheated." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You couldn't have finished this test as fast." I said, "Yes, I did." I said, "I know the work." I said, "Furthermore, I'm only sitting about 3 or 4 chairs from you, and you've been watching me the whole time. How could I cheat?" Mm-hmm. But because I took those college prep courses,
and you were well prepared
to get through that test. Mm-hmm.